Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all well. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at Audi's brand new RS Q8. Some of you might remember that I was lucky enough to go to the global press launch December last year for this car. But as with many of these press launches, they're in amazing places with amazing roads and amazing climates. And in fact, this launch was out in Tenerife on some roads that I can only describe as perfect. Literally, it was almost like Audi had gone out there and laid them the night before. I absolutely love this car. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, and I just couldn't believe its road dynamics and its handling characteristics and just everything. I mean, this is a 2.3 ton car and I was blown away by it. I thought it was almost a driver's car, which really spun my mind at the time. As with many of these press launches, they're always slightly rushed. You don't get too much time with the car, and as we've already talked about, the conditions and stuff are just perfect. So what I'm always interested in is a few months down the line getting my hands on that same car or model back here in the UK and actually driving them on the roads that we have to deal with. So pretty poor roads, poor road conditions, most of the time worse weather as well, and then give you guys more of a realistic opinion or verdict on this particular car. Now, before we start this video, I just want to say a massive shout out and thanks to BOTB.com who are sponsoring it. As many of you know, I'm a chauffeur and my actual business has been down the drain. In fact, I haven't done a day's work since the 23rd of February. My only form of income has been YouTube, whether it's ad revenue or sponsored content like this particular video. And BOTB have stood by me for about 12 months now, and they continue to do so through these rough and tough times that we're having. So I can't be grateful enough. Tickets to enter and win your dream car start from just 85 pence. They've actually got 180 different cars to choose from, including now an Audi RS Q8. We're talking about a car that retails at just under £104,000, could be yours for a ticket price of £4.95. All cars come with 1 year free insurance, and you're in with a chance of winning £20,000 worth of cash in the boot. How good would that be at the moment? BOTB have been around for 20 years and have given away £33 million worth of cars in that time. They actually give away a car every single week, and at the moment they're giving away 2 cars a week. So please head over to their website. There's a link below in the description. There's also a link in the pinned comment below, and see if you can win yourself a dream car. You just need to be 16 years and over to enter the competition. Thanks so much. Right, let's have a quick walk around the outside of the car and talk about some of the aesthetics that we're looking at. It's not too dissimilar to a regular Q8, but a regular Q8 is quite a special car already. This one is more aggressive around the front. It's got extra cooling for the 4-litre V8 twin turbo engine that's under the bonnet, and most of the vents that you see are actually real, which is quite a nice and refreshing change, especially for Audi. Around the side, well, you can't miss those wheels, can you? And in fact, they are the biggest production wheels fitted to any car. 23 inches. I mean, they are massive, and I'm being serious when I say that the brakes behind these wheels are about the size of most sports cars' wheels. I think they're not much smaller, those brakes, than the wheels on my M2. They're absolutely humongous, and they need to be, because the engine that is under that bonnet produces just under 600 brake horsepower and actually propels this car to a quoted 62 miles an hour in just 3.8 seconds. And in fact, I tested that recently and I got 3.5 seconds out of it. That's ridiculous. It's a 2.3 ton car and it would do 0 to 62 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds. Aside from the extra cooling around the front and the humongous 23-inch wheels, there's not too many other telltale signs to differentiate this to a regular Q8 or SQ8. Until you get around the back, that is, and you see the twin oval trademark RS exhaust pipes. I think it looks really nice, and if you haven't seen one of these or even a regular Q8 on the road yet, they tend to hide their size and dimensions really well, because when you look at how big this car is on a piece of paper, it is, well, basically as big as any of the super SUVs out there. But when you're up close and personal to it, actually the shapes and the lines and stuff just make this car appear a lot smaller than it is. Let's have a quick look inside the cabin. I would say it's fairly standard affair in here, but you can't really call a modern Audi cabin standard affair. It has the dreaded touchscreens that I'm not the biggest fan of. I've just cleaned them for the camera, but they were filthy about an hour ago. It's got the lovely virtual cockpit, and in fact this car's also got the all-important head-up display. It has a nice sporty looking Alcantara steering wheel, which I think looks really good. The seats look amazing with the contrasting red leather. Just looks really nice. I think looks wise this is about as good as cabins genuinely get. When everything's off, it's just lovely and dark in there, and when you fire it up, everything comes to life. This particular car has also got the all-important panoramic roof, which just adds a bit of light to the cabin. We'll have a quick look in the back. Acres of space, as you can see, plenty more Alcantara in places. But yeah, it's really nice back here. Again, the rear windows have got electric sun blinds. This car is pretty much fully loaded, and in fact this would be very similar to what you can order as the RS Q8 Vorsprung, which retails at about £120,000 on the road. Another feature I found that I love in the Q8 and the RS Q8 is these rear seats are not only adjustable backrests, but they're also on rails, so they can slide forward and backwards. Many of you might ask, well, why would you have them forwards? We would have them forwards because then that opens up the boot and gives you even more boot space. So it's really good for rear passengers and just adapting. It's a very versatile thing to have in such a big car. Back here, you get to see the glorious cabin, and you get plenty of light coming in from the roof. Let's have a quick look in the boot. This car also has soft closed doors, although there we go. Come around the back. It's a remote boot, as you would expect, I guess, on a car that costs £120,000. And we have a massive boot that's full of my camera gear at the moment. But absolutely massive car that just happens to drive very, very well. Let's close the boot. Hold that down, I think. Here we go. Let's just fire it up, see what she sounds like, and then take it out on the road. So we'll press the RS button when that really frustrating noise stops. There we go. Okay, into RS now. So the valves and the exhaust are open. Unfortunately, it has a soft limiter. That means it only allows me to rev it to about 4,000 RPM when it's stationary, but you still get a good idea of what it sounds like. I really hope that the mic is picking that up, because to me it just sounds brilliant. And as you can see, this just looks stunning in here, but that's before any greasy and gammy fingerprints find their way there. Right then guys, let's take this out for a drive. Here we are on the move, just about to go down one of my favourite bits of road, fairly local to where I live. I've shot a number of videos here, M5 competition, original Sonoma Green RS4, I think the R8 RWS along here as well. I absolutely love it. We're gonna go down the road in normal comfort, normal setup, and we're gonna come back in this direction in full attack sort of RS2 mode and just try and demonstrate its breadth of ability, because this car has got a massive breadth of ability, it really has. Before we start, I just want to apologise about the creaking roof. That is one of the bad points of this car, and in fact I have had creaky roofs on other new Audis of late. I don't know if it's an issue they've got, there's something rubbing, whether it's a seal or something, but it does nag you a little bit, and I think if I'd just paid 120,000 pounds for this car, that would upset me. But there's not many other bad points, so the rest of this video is going to be pretty positive. So we're cruising along here in drive, in comfort. I've got the normal drive select down there so I can go through my modes, but this one's also got off-road and all-road, and that means that it's actually got air suspension. I think it goes up and down by 80 millimeters, so it can rise right up for off-road stuff, and it will go right down when you're in dynamic or when you're in your preset RS1 or RS2 modes, so that when you get to your favorite road, it really does hunker down and feel rather good. But we'll talk more about that on the way back up this road. What's it like inside this cabin? Well, it's absolutely glorious. It's lovely in here, it really is. Yes, it has Audi's latest touchscreen and sort of lovely shiny looking interior, but in reality when you're living with that, it's a pain in the arse. You get fingerprints. I can see loads of dust on there, and I only wiped it this morning, but there's already dust because I've had the roof open. So I think to live with long term it would be a little bit frustrating, but there's no denying that as a wow factor this cabin is just stunning. And I think this has got enough RS in here to really let you and your passengers know what you're in. There's lovely contrasting red stitching everywhere. I've got Alcantara around the steering wheel with red stitching in it as well. I've got the unique RS virtual cockpit when I need that. And it is a nice place to be in here. There's a bit of carbon and the trim is lovely. Functionality wise, I'm not sold. I'd prefer my iDrive, I'd prefer a controller down here than all of this touchscreen, especially for things like the climate control. I'm still having to look down. I've spent a lot of time with this setup in many Audis over the past 6 months, but I'm still having to look down and adjust it, and that I'm not the biggest fan of. But in terms of the fit and finish and the overall cabin, it's just lovely in here. It really is. Whether you're in the back with those amazing adjustable seats or rear bench, or whether you're in the front in these really nice larger RS seats that pretty much fit me. I think anyone 6'2" or smaller, these will fit perfectly, and anyone that in fact has sat in this car, which has only really been my other half, absolutely loves these seats. They are really nice, they look stunning, they support you, and they feel comfortable. I don't think they're quite as good as the F90 M5 or M5 competition seats, but they do run them close, and I think if anything they probably look a little bit better and sportier. But the rest of the cabin is lovely in here. Really large boot in the back, and with the air suspension there is actually a button in the boot that allows the car to drop. So if you want to load heavy things in there, you can just press a button from the boot and it'll actually drop it as low as the car can go, which makes things or loading much easier, which is a really cool little feature to have on a car like this. In terms of pricing, well, in the UK there's 3 core RS Q8 trims. There's the base one that's just under £105,000. There's the carbon black edition, which is about £114,000, and then there's the flagship Vorsprung, which basically is a theme across a lot of Audi models these days, and the Vorsprung retails at around £120,000 on the road, and that Vorsprung basically comes with absolutely everything. There's one or two options that you can throw at it, but that's pretty much fully loaded. This being a press card, it doesn't really represent any of those models, but it's very much close to what a Vorsprung would be. So let's think of this as a £120,000 SUV. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? It really does. And yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money, but the more time you spend with it, the more you begin to understand where all that money has gone. And this car really does surprise me. It surprised me a lot when I was out in Tenerife, really did. Surprise package, as we talked about in the intro. I just was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. In fact, when they said I could take it out for another hour on the second day just before we flew home, yeah, I know that sounds strange nowadays, doesn't it? But just before we flew back, I grabbed the keys and I literally went out and tried to destroy a whole tank of fuel on those glorious roads, just because the car was so much fun. I could have been down on the beach enjoying the sunshine, probably having a cocktail before I got on the flight, but I was out and I was racing up and down those roads and enjoying myself so much in an SUV, in something this big. Just it doesn't make sense. Okay, we've turned around. We're going to head up in the other direction now. I've put the car into RS2 mode, which basically makes it a bit louder, a bit more aggressive, a bit stiffer, better throttle response, etc. But let's just listen to it. Yeah, it's no normal Q8, this car. Before we talk about its amazing dynamics and stuff, which we are about to, I just want to talk about its incredible ride when you are in comfort, because we're on 23-inch wheels. 23-inch wheels. It's a square setup, so they're all the same, and they're 295 section tyres. So can you imagine how big that contact patch is? And talking of contact patches, I'm relieved to say that on this particular car in the UK, you don't get Pirelli P0s. You actually get some lovely Conti Sport Contact 6 tyres, which I don't think are quite the Michelin PS4S tyres, but in my experience, they feel pretty good. Let's just remember for a second that one of these cars has lapped the Nordschleife in 7 minutes and 42 seconds with Frank Stippler behind the wheel. That is a ridiculous lap time. That's actually faster than an M2 competition around the Nürburgring. That's how fast this car is. And yes, it has got a 592 brake horsepower, 4-litre V8 twin turbo under the bonnet, which is just ridiculous and produces 800 Newton meters of torque. But there's no point having all that power if the car doesn't handle and doesn't feel agile through the twisty bits. This is a 2.3 ton car. It's as heavy as all of the heavy SUVs. It is the heavyweight, but yet when you put it in the right modes, all this wizardry actually makes the car feel, I wouldn't say nimble, it doesn't feel as good as, say, the M5 competition did along this bit of road, but it doesn't feel far off it. And it's actually a car that, if I did happen to own one of them, I mean, it would be a lottery winning car. It wouldn't be like one of my first choices, because I'd probably still have an RS6 over this or an M5 competition. But if I did find the need for something this big and silly, I would be tempted to take this car out for a spirited drive on a Sunday morning, because that's how good this car is. I really can't stress enough that it's that capable. This has got the carbon ceramic brake option on it, which are just, I mean, the brakes, the way this thing stops, it feels like it's going to do a nose wheelie when you really use them, and you wouldn't use them that hard on the public road just because it doesn't need to use them that hard on the public road. This thing goes and stops as fast as any sports car you could imagine. reason it does feel so good and agile for such a big tank is the fact that it has all-wheel steer, so all four wheels steer, and a bit like with the RS6, it just makes the car shrink around you when you're in the driver's seat. In fact, I was a passenger in this car yesterday with my other half driving, and it felt so much bigger from the passenger seat. But when you're behind the wheel, you've got this lovely commanding driving position, which, love or hate SUVs, it definitely gives you more of an advantage down the road like this, because you can see so much further. But the all-wheel steer just makes it feel so good through the turns. Okay guys, now we're arriving at one of my favourite little sections of road. So good. Usually in a smaller car it's more fun, but this is just so capable. The brakes are so good, and good brakes inspire confidence and allow you to sort of get the most out of a car. It just defies physics though. I mean, how something this heavy can slow down so well and without too much of an upset of the weight balance. When you really start pushing this on off a public road, it does start to feel heavy, you know. There's only so much disguising that you can do with weight, but at fairly normal speeds it's just unreal. It really is. I shouldn't be having this much fun in a car like this. I really shouldn't. So capable. I mean, I'm getting nowhere near the limits of this thing. Absolutely. I haven't heard the tyres squeal or anything in the car complain all day long. It's just taken it all in its stride and dealt with it. Fantastic. So my verdict of this car is very similar to the verdict the first time around. I think it's amazing, and on a UK road, yes, the ride's not quite as good as it was on those silky smooth roads out in Tenerife, but when I knock it back into comfort, it feels very good. I mean, the ride quality is really nice, and that is helped by these super comfortable seats as well. But I just think it's an incredible car. It's an insanely ridiculous car. It really is. I mean, there's no excuse. We don't need something like this in our lives. We really don't. It's so excessive. Why would you spend an extra 10 odd grand over a fully spec'd RS6? I don't know. But saying that, I'm just going to finish with this. I've got a trip coming up later this summer, hopefully, depending on what the COVID situation is, going down to see my lovely uncle and auntie down in the south of France, and I'm taking my parents and my other half. Now, I'm very lucky and very fortunate that I have a great relationship with BMW and with Audi, and so I've been thinking, right, what would be the ultimate road trip car? You know, really get on there, treat my folks, have a great trip down to the south of France. While I'm down there, shoot some content. And yes, something like an M5 would be amazing, or an RS6, or even an RS7, but I've kind of done that with Steph already. But to be fair, my car at the top of that list is this, because we could go down there in complete luxury and comfort. It's just lovely in here. All four of us, loads of luggage in the boot, no stresses, French auto routes all the way down there, easy peasy. And when I get down there, I can take this out for a couple of days in the Alps and enjoy myself in it. So that really does show you how impressive this particular car is. Incredible. Guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give us a thumbs up if you did, and please remember to check out the BOTB link below in the description or in the pinned comment. Head over there and see if you can win yourself a dream car, whether it's one of these or one of the other 180 odd cars that they have available to win. Thanks a lot again to BOTB for supporting me, and thanks to all you guys and girls for supporting the channel by watching it and subscribing to me. Till the next time, speak to you soon. Cheers.